Hey everyone, I'm Elia Einhorn. I'm the podcast producer here at the Talkhouse. Thank you so much for joining us at the Talkhouse Music Podcast's live recording here at Samsung 837. This series has seen some fantastic artistic pairings so far. We had John Cameron Mitchell of Hedwig and the Angry Inch with Javier Munoz of Hamilton, Marky Ramone of the Ramones with Andy Hilfiger, Rose McGowan with Meredith Graves, and so many more. Coming up, we have Wyclef Jean in conversation with the Arcade Fire's Will Butler about the Fugees' groundbreaking record, The Score, on its 20th anniversary. Like all Talkhouse podcasts, today's conversation is between two intelligent, noteworthy artists. Here in the booth with me are Sean Lennon and Les Claypool. Hey guys.
What's up?
Hello there.
Unlike most of our pairings, though, these two are actively collaborating on a very cool project, in this case, the Claypool Lennon Delirium, whose psychedelic space rock record, The Monolith of Phobos, is available June 3rd.
It is.
They'll be touring America for the next few months, playing original songs like Breath of a Salesman and There's No Underwear in Space.
There's not.
Les Claypool is a songwriter and virtuosic bassist who made his name with the group Primus in the 80s and 90s. I'm going to embarrass you. Les, you ready?
Yep, I'm turning red.
The man is so amazing at bass that it spawned the urban legend that he cut the flesh between his fingers to increase his reach on the fretboard.
Really?
Have you heard this?
I've never heard that.
Because this is...
I actually cut the flesh between my toes for just to do it.
Makes you
Parkour.
It has nothing to do with the bass, but it makes me a faster swimmer.
Yep.
This is a real urban legend. You can Google yourself.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I Googled myself this morning.
Oh, boy.
Hey!
Twice.
In addition to Primus, Claypool has also formed a number of other groups, including Les Claypool's Fearless Flying Frog Brigade, Colonel Claypool's Bucket of Bernie Brains, and alongside Fish's Trey Anastasio and Stuart Copeland of The Police, Oysterhead. Les also wrote and directed the spoof film Electric Apricot, Quest for Festeroo. Sean Lennon has collaborated with artists as varied as Lenny Kravitz and Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
That's true.
He toured with Chibo Mato and released solo records before co-forming the group Ghost of a Saber Tooth Tiger. Sean has collaborated numerous times with his mother Yoko Ono and is also an actor, writer, composer of film scores, and is involved with the artist-run label and arts collective Chimera Music.
That's true.
Is it all true?
Most of it, yeah.
I got it right. Most of it. Not about Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
No, that's the only true part, actually.
Okay. Nice guy, Del.
I didn't know you collaborated with Lenny Kravitz.
Kind of. It was more of a collaboration on a lunch we made together. It was a salad and a tart, actually, to finish it off. He's a very good cook. Not many people know that.
Was that pre his exploding pants?
Pre-exploding pants? Yeah, I mean, that's actually how I mark time, is before Lenny's pants exploded and after. That's sort of how I reference my entire life. I feel like these headphones are unnecessary. I can hear you.
Can you?
I'm just going to take them off.
But you look so fashionable.
I know,
in your
they're
white. I'm assuming this is a
They don't
Samsung
match my
product.
eyeshadow.
Look at that.
So here we are, together at last,
Yes.
in a glass cubicle. How are you feeling?
I have nothing to say to you.
I know. I knew that. So am I going to have to do both our voices like we said?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
It's interesting being here, isn't it? I did my first VR experience here.
And how was that VR experience?
It was very exciting. I was surprised that when I went over the roller coaster cliff, I felt my stomach rise up into my throat the way one would in a real roller coaster, which was surprising because I thought that was a result of falling, but it was just my mind playing with me.
Now, would that be a fine Samsung product that you were
Well, I'll
utilizing?
reserve that statement for if I'm going to get an incentive to say that. But let's just say it could possibly be a fine Samsung product. But the reason I'm talking about it is because I find it interesting, this idea that maybe virtual reality is going to supplant real reality in terms of its entertainment value and, just
This could
all
be
around
virtual
fun.
reality right now.
That's true. We could
never-
be in
you
the
never do
Matrix.
know.
No, I mean, that's interesting, too, that we could be in a Matrix right now. Because there's that theory.
We could both be in self-induced comas right now
if
and
we
not
wanted.
even know it. This is
well,
all...
I mean, that's why I drank so much last night. I was hoping for that. No, but really, I find that interesting. Like, what do you think? Do you think that Samsung in, 50 years is going to run a virtual universe that is preferable to the real universe for people?
Yes, but it's going to be called Steve Sung.
That is the son of
Transitioning
Sam?
away from Sam. Or it'll be Samuel Sung, which is a little more official.
Okay. That's a good prediction. You heard it here, guys. You heard it here first. That's Les's prediction for
The great Klezmo.
2060, I guess. Cool. No, because I just read that book, Ready Player One, where everyone moves into an alternate universe through their computer and they prefer it. I feel like that's coming. It's like World of Warcraft, but with
I just want to be able to continue to use Craigslist with the vigor that I use it.
You are vigorous. You're a vigorous man. I always tell people that. And they're like, "What's Les like?" I'm like, "He's got vigor."
Yeah, that's the first thing that pops to mind.
He's got
vigor,
verve.
and like he said, I've cut the ligaments between my fingers, or what was it again?
I thought it was that you had webbed feet and that you're a very fast swimmer. So how did you get to play so fast, Les Claypool?
It's all mirrors. I'm actually
Mirrors help.
playing slow. Use a lot of delay.
How does that work? I mean, it slows down the light. If you have enough mirrors, it reflects enough times that you're actually in the past.
I can't tell you, Sean.
Okay.
I can't really tell you that. These, it's like
Okay.
it's like magicians. They don't give away their secrets. I'm a bass player, and bass players are known to hold their secrets very close to their chest.
Yes.
Or their testicles.
Yes.
Either one.
Speaking of the human form, what was your band before Primus? Did it have a name? Can you reveal that?
Before Primus, I was in many bands back in the day. One of them was the Tommy Crank Band, which was myself as a young fellow with a bunch of, older guys playing biker bars in Northern California. And back then, biker bars were biker bars. There weren't none of these weekend Harley rider dentist guys. It was Hell's Angels. We were playing for Hell's Angels.
This is the mecca of weekend warriors. This area right here.
This is it right here?
Yep, this is where all the fancy pants Harleys come for the weekend.
Yeah, well, so anyway, I'd play these biker bars with the Tommy Crank Band, and I was a young fellow. I was like 19, and all the other guys were 10 to 15 years older than me, and we were playing like old R&B. I was playing Booker T and the MGs and the Meters and a lot of these things. I didn't even know what it was at the time. And
nice.
That was one of my early.
That sounds awesome. So were there?
I did it for it was money. I would play 3 to 5 nights a week, 4 sets a night in Hell's Angels bars.
So that's where you got your chops, running from Hell's Angels. Were there any?
I was amongst them. I was one of the dudes.
You were.
I was like the little punk guy. I was like their little mascot.
Really?
Kind of. There was a couple of them.
They held you on their shoulders and sort of screamed at parties?
It was more like, "Yeah, Les, you guy," and it was one of those things.
A piratey kind of.
There was a 3-legged guy named Snake. That was he was like head of MMA. He was a cool guy actually.
Well, I mean, if your
they
name's
called him Snake because he walked. He had a little, waggle to his walk because he lost one of his legs.
Oh my god!
On a Harley Davidson.
Yeah, that.
So he drove
Snake-like.
he drove a 3-wheeler after that.
So you played in a cover band that was doing a lot of funk and meter stuff. But then, is that how you learned to slap?
Rhythm
was
and
it
blues?
Sorry, R&B. And I also think our listeners will find it interesting that we're not allowed to refer to slapping as slapping. Slapping the bass is not what it is.
I always cringed at the slapping of the bass term. It was always, where I came from, it was thumping, because Larry Graham invented the thumping and the plucking. And I remember seeing Larry Graham on stage opening for the Isley Brothers at the Oakland Auditorium. It was unbelievable, and he did this whole song about the history of the bass, and he talked about the thumping and the plucking. And,
that sounds so much
If Larry
cooler.
Graham's going to call it thumping and plucking, that's what I'm calling it.
Thumping and plucking sounds cool. I think I would have gotten more into slap.
And also 90s came along, and everybody started talking about the slapping, and it just...
Yeah, no, it makes it sound uncool.
It's potato, but I like the patata.
Patata. I don't think anyone says patata. Well, now they will.
Some people do. I heard you say it last night.
I think it's an interesting idea that when that song was written, tomato, tomato, potato, potato.
Yes.
It was before people had stereos, really. So they would get the sheet music, and then they would read the lyrics, and it would just say, "You say potato, I say potato." They must have thought
phonetic.
They must have thought it was a stupid song.
Are you making this up?
They must have thought this is a ridiculous song. I mean, why would you you say? Yeah, I mean, who wants to say potato with someone? No one. So how did you?
So that's it. We should end this interview right there because that's.
Yeah, we've got a little bit to go.
You can't go.
No, I want to
that.
know how you got into playing slap. I mean, thumping and plucking. Sorry, thumping and plucking versus the old 2-finger diddly.
Grant Tequiwa.
Excuse me. If you say that backwards, it says.
One of my first jobs was at one of these mall delicatessens. There's like a Hickory Farms type thing called Swiss Colony.
Okay.
And one of the guys I worked with was this fellow named Grant Tokiwa.
That's a good name.
Japanese fellow.
Oh, that doesn't sound very Japanese. He sounded
Tokiwa?
like native Indian or something.
No, he was Japanese.
Tokiwa. Okay,
so anyway, he showed up with his bass one day and he started.
Oh,
and
he did that.
I said, "That's very cool. How do you do that?" And he just kind of gave me the fundamentals, and
So you owe the Japanese race your entire your paradigm.
I do actually, yes.
I knew it. I knew that you were indebted to me
Everything
in
starts
some
with
way.
the Japanese.
It does. Everything.
Don't get too carried away. You're only half
funk.
Japanese, pal.
Especially the funk. But the good half is Japanese. The funky half.
The non-smelling half.
So Tokiwa...
Should we talk about the notion of how you think, because of your Japanese element, you have no aroma?
Well, the truth is, I think I'm not like 100% Japanese people who really don't have much BO, yeah. But I'm sort of,
But explain that element, because I know this story, but the folks out here in
it's very interesting. Well,
land don't know.
I figured this out when I was looking for, it's not just Japanese people, but, Asian people. I was looking for deodorant when I was young.
You specifically said Japanese people have
because I know Japan. I can't really speak for every other country, but, I can't find deodorant in Japan. That's what made me realize it. Then I asked around, and they're like, well, you gaijin smell. White people smell. That's what they say,
Really?
Yeah, they could smell you coming. They smell you coming. So that's when I realized that we were all different, but, all God's children.
I like it. I'm still wrapping my head around it, but I like that.
You
I
can
like
wrap
that
whatever
theory.
you want around it later.
All right.
We're going to be on tour for a while.
Easy there, Tiger.
Okay, so that's interesting. So, but how did it feel? I'm just curious because we've never talked about this, and this is the perfect kind of format to talk about it.
How did what
Did
feel?
you just feel like this is it? Like this is my thing?
No, I saw, way back in the old days, there was a thing on television called Don Kirshner's Rock Concert. And it was a fantastic thing because that's, it's not like now. Now kids can go on and see everybody play every lick up close, and you can cop all the stuff. Back then, you had to either go to the show or...
you kids have it easy, all you shredders out there.
Yeah.
We actually had to etch things in stone with a chisel if we wanted to.
We had to watch Don Kirshner.
Yeah.
So on Don Kirshner's Rock Concert was the Brothers Johnson. And Louis Johnson, who just passed away this last year, was thumping and plucking like a bastard. He would get out, his arm would go out like this so far, and I would watch him and just think that was the most amazing thing. And there was no recorded on the VCR and see it later.
No, we had to chisel it in
you
stone.
had to just remember it.
Yeah.
So I was very intrigued by that notion. And I was playing with a buddy of mine in high school who was actually the very first Primus drummer, Perm Parker. And we would just sit there and kind of play like, Rick James tunes and Isley Brothers and stuff like that in jazz band. And I started getting my thumping on.
Where's Perm now? All your friends seem to have very, rock star names.
Perm Parker? I don't know. Last time I
Grant
saw Perm
Parker.
Perm Parker was playing in a reggae band in Arizona, but that was many years ago I saw him. It was at least 15 years ago was the last time I saw him. So
Interesting.
He's out there somewhere, funking it up.
Interesting. And that was in San Francisco? Berkeley?
That was in El Sobrante, California.
Okay.
Whereas if you're from there, you say El Sobrante.
And then
El Sob number one. What's up,
was
man?
it right after that you started Primus?
No, Primus didn't come along till... I started Primus in 1984, and it was Primate. And we actually had a song on the radio. There was a local station, Big Rick Stewart, on the Quake in San Francisco, and he was playing one of our demos. And I soon got a phone call saying, I'm the attorney for the Primates, and you must cease and desist. So we had to change our name, and we changed it to Primus.
Did he represent all the
represented
genus of primates like monkeys and orangutans?
5-digited individuals.
That's amazing. I didn't know you could do that, just like own a patent on all primates.
I don't think he did, but I was a young fellow, and he scared me enough to change the name.
Primus
In fact, I met him years later, and
primates.
he told me he was bullshitting me, that he wasn't actually an attorney. He was just the leader of the band, and
I feel
was
like
trying to scare me.
The universe would be completely different if you had been the primates. I think Primus is way cooler. I'm sure in some other dimension you're playing in a band called Primates, but I feel like Primus...
Rose by any other name.
Yes. Primus makes it feel nerdy, like it appeals to people who like nerdiness and that kind of smart thinking. Somehow it sounds smart. Primus, it sounds like Latin or something. Right?
It is Latin.
Yeah, exactly. So it feels like, ooh, that's smart.
Well, I'm a very
That's what
calculated individual.
You
It was
are.
all plotted and planned.
I know. It's hard to be around you because, you plan everything.
How did you come up
years
with the
in
name
advance.
Lennon? Where did you get that?
Well, it was originally Lion. Actually, not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
But I didn't want people to mix me up with Snoop Doggy Dogg Lion, Snoop Lion. So I switched it to Lennon. And it's weird because then people think that I'm related to
Steve Lennon,
who's the
famous basketball
the
player.
front forward, right? Yeah, the right forward for the Chicago
Sandwiches.
team, the highlight team. He's a really famous highlight player. Yeah. No, I think Lennon was actually a place in Ireland or an area, or it's maybe like a hill. I think it's maybe a tree. It's something in Ireland.
Or a donkey somewhere in the uppermost regions of the British
it's
Isles.
a famous ventriloquist donkey in Ireland who lives in a tree. Have you ever seen those tree, what are they called? Arboreal goats?
No.
They live in Morocco.
Okay.
And they climb trees. They're incredible.
like
I just
it.
thought we could do a music
I'm getting
video
a good
there.
image.
It's really beautiful. Like, there's just a tree in the middle of the desert, and you just see about 30 goats on every branch, and they're just standing there kind of eating the leaves. I'm sure the tree doesn't like it, but I thought maybe we could go do a video there, like, rocking out. You can thump and pluck, and I can do whatever I do with my...
Yeah, what do you do?
I don't know. I don't
What's
have
your
a cool
technique?
name for what I do.
Let's hear about the Sean Lennon technique on the
Yeah,
guitar.
I like to diddly-do.
Diddly-do.
And bumpy stump.
Who taught you how to waggle your fingers like you do?
Well, it came kind of naturally, the whole twiddly-tums thing. What should I call it? It's just... I don't
know.
have my own style, that's the thing. I just sort of imitate Jean-Luc Ponty. That's all I really do. I'm trying to be like him, and it's not really working. I don't know, I never really... I should have practiced more, but I feel like I never started taking myself seriously as a guitar player until I joined your band, or joined a band with you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So now's the serious part?
Now I'm a real musician.
We're on to the serious section
Before that,
of
it
your
was
life?
just strumming and a strumming.
Yeah,
And now
all right.
I'm diddling
Picking
and
and a
diddling.
grinning?
Yeah, exactly. So should we bring up something more profound and philosophical?
Yes. Do
Okay.
you fear or embrace the spirochete?
Ooh, that's for those who don't know what a spirochete is. It's a corkscrew shaped bacterium, like the syphilis bacterium,
Like
and
delirium.
the Lyme.
We could have been the Claypool Lennon bacterium.
Yeah,
That would have been sweet.
We're gonna be the
Spirochete bacterium.
spirochete bacteria are the Lyme bacteria.
See, I say spirochete. Am I right or are you right? Or
You're
is this a
probably
potato
right.
potato
We can
thing?
both be right. You say spirochete, I say spirochete.
And the reason I bring this up,
Yeah.
so that people, we've got to
Yeah.
go back to that, is we just spent a week up at your farm,
Yeah.
up
running from
in the
from-
Arctic
from
Circle. And
black-footed ticks.
And it's this glorious, beautiful green place. And all of a sudden, every time we went outside, we had to spray horrible chemicals on our pant legs.
And
you
wear-
had
and wear Wellingtons.
And you had an amazing style where you would tuck your pants into your black socks.
Yeah, well, I didn't tell you, Les. There are no ticks up there. I just did that for the fashion.
Just for the style.
I just like to spray DEET on my toes.
It wasn't
gives
DEET. It
me
was
that-
what was this other stuff? It was, and you
It's
got a
called
big horn full of it.
Paracetamol. I forget actually, but yeah, I mean, I think my problem with getting Lyme was that no one had really told me about it, and I didn't realize what an epidemic it is. And frankly, I find it odd that so many people are getting this infection, and you don't really know much about it. People don't really inform you about it. So I think it's kind of important to learn about it. But I'm fine now.
That's my only question for you.
I took my doxycycline, which is the antibody, and that fixed me right up.
Yes, and you have a nice glow to you now.
I do.
Sheen.
Yeah. Well, that's just because I'm.
Perhaps even a Charlie
that's just
sheen.
the coffee
Oh.
kicking in. That's the coffee kicking in. We should talk about something life affirming. Everyone's so depressed now. Everyone feels like the Earth is going to get hit by a meteor, or we're going to
I don't.
be cooked by a
I'm pretty positive.
environmental
I'm pretty
disaster.
upbeat.
You are upbeat.
You think I'm an upbeat guy? We've been hanging
You have
out.
a spring in your step, and
A
you
little
whistle
spring.
a lot.
I do?
You go like in the middle of that song.
Yep, that's a lot.
That always throws me off in Pachyderm. Les goes, and I'm like, what? Did I do something wrong? And I'm like, oh no, that's the lyrics to the verse. Or the intro.
So let's go back to the spirochete. When you were out at my place, because I live in the country, and
Yes.
we have long grasses.
He lives on the west.
Were you
northern
concerned that
California
the
coast.
West Coast ticks would also take delight in your
I didn't know there
flesh?
were ticks there. You should have told me. See, I warned you. I would have brought my spacesuit.
I think your ticks out here are a little more.
They're a little more.
I don't really think about it. If I
virulent.
see one, we pop pop it off
They're
and
more
put
vigorous.
it in a bag and send it off to the lab?
I don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do about the Lyme thing. It freaks me out. I think we need to come up with like a super immunity thing. Or just start wearing more latex. I've actually heard that latex is in because Beyonce wore a latex dress. So maybe we could just take a tip from Beyonce.
Because she's repelling ticks.
That's probably why she's doing it.
Is?
People think it's like a kinky fashion, like a sexy thing. But I think it's really about, being hygienic. Just in general, it's more hygienic, I think. It's like wearing, surgical gloves, but for your whole body. I won't say what came to my mind just then.
Okay.
I'm censoring myself, see?
I like it.
This is a new thing.
It's good.
It's hard to censor yourself.
Smooth. We have Sean Lennon light.
So any advice, Les, for young people who want to play bass or start a band today? Do you think the world is a different place for young upstarts?
Yes. The world is a continuously evolving thing.
It is. It's revolving, at least.
It's a different ball game than when we started. You remember back in the day, you'd make a record, and it was actually a record, and you'd go drive it around to the stores, and if somebody bought 5, you'd be excited, and you'd go to a different store.
We used to do tape cassettes and sell them out of our van.
But now it's a different ball game. So if you're starting a band and you're out there playing, there's all this access to distribution via the internet, but there's also
the interweb. That's the thing that you guys email to.
It's harder to make revenue off of that said item. So now it's just a different thing.
What do you got to do? You got to play shows. That's where it's at, right?
You got to play shows. Standing in front of a microphone with a bass guitar in my hand is how I am paying my son's way through college.
And what would you have said if Cage had said to you, his son, I want to start a band and do what you do? Would you have been like, that's not a good career choice?
I would have said, whatever makes you happy,
that's
fine young fellow, because that's really what it's all about. What is success? Is it a big pile of money, or is it doing what you enjoy doing on a daily basis?
It has something to do with donuts.
People that play music now or that are getting into the music world, it's not like it's like a friend of mine years ago said he graduated from Columbia Med, and he became a pediatric doc. And he said back in the day, you'd start at a certain amount and it would just escalate from there. But because of the HMO thing, doctors just aren't making what they used to. It's just not as lucrative a business. So you get into it for the love of medicine and healing and whatever.
And surgical gloves.
Surgical gloves. And it's the same with playing music now. It's not this big, huge, lucrative thing that it used to be. Even people like that are very successful. They're making a fraction of what they used to make.
But I actually feel like it's a
records.
temporary thing for musicians, because I think musicians are going to be the last job to be replaced by robots. Because doctors...
We were replaced by robots a long time ago.
No, but doctors are going to be replaced by robots a lot faster, because, the internet can access all information in order to diagnose someone, whereas, a doctor can't.
So there's going to be a robot. You're going to bend over in front of a robot to get your prostate checked at some point in time?
To write a good song and perform it in a way that the kids get down to, I think that's probably going to be farther down the line in terms of a robot replacing that. So I feel like we're going to go through this sort of renaissance where everyone is undervalued except musicians, because everyone is going to be, made obsolete by robot artificial intelligence, and then musicians will rule the planet, and we're going to have our own empire. It'll be like the Roman Empire, and indie musicians will basically rule the world in a sort of friendly fascist way. Benevolent dictators. That's my theory. You're not buying it, are you?
I'm not buying it.
You're not buying it.
But I'm enjoying hearing it.
One can hope. So how do you feel about the state of America right now? We're about to
America
vote on Trump.
Why don't you tell me,
Hillary?
because you wrote the song Oh America on the upcoming Monolith of Phobos record, which we're supposed to be plugging as we sit here talking
I
back
did.
and forth.
I wrote my first topical song about the state of America. And how do I feel about it? I feel kind of terrified. I feel like everyone is slightly terrified, and it's so shocking that it's almost like it's not sinking in. And 10 years from now, we're going to look back on this period as I can't believe we went through that. This guy who actually spoke about the things he spoke about during the debates, that happened, that he had that hairstyle, that he said those things.
Which guy are you talking about?
I'm talking about Charlie Sheen. No, I'm talking about Trump. I can't say what he said.
But this is his town. This is where you grew up here.
This is his town. We love him.
You've
here.
experienced him since you were a wee lad.
I did, yeah. I mean, he was around a lot. I just find it really odd. I mean, I had very little faith in politics when I was younger, but now nothing compares to how bizarre it's become.
Well,
What do you tell your
Noel
kids?
Fielding, who is a champion, a friend of ours,
Yes,
He
who's
says-
starring in one of our music videos.
yes,
by the way.
he says that because of this, that they're going to get Gordon Ramsay to be the next PM over there. So,
in England.
yes.
That's not inconceivable. Gordon Ramsay, I don't know. Yeah, I guess he's their Trump. Is he their Trump? I think it's more like
According
Guy.
to Noel Fielding.
Yeah,
And Noel knows all.
I think England is a little. They're not doing quite as badly as us because they said they'd ban Trump. I heard somebody in in Parliament saying that England will ban Trump if he becomes president. So at least they've got that going for them over there, and a lovely royal family. I guess Trump is sort of our royal family in a way. So we're going back to monarchy. I guess it's going to be great. Feudalism's coming back, and it's going to be the new American way. Trump fascism. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So yeah, you don't feel any terror at all. There's no percolating fear in your belly.
Oh, there's always percolating fear.
Yes, there always is that.
But like most Americans, I just squash it way down
just
inside
ignore
of me
it.
and
Yeah.
watch Game of Thrones.
That's what you have to do.
That's what you have to do.
Veg out.
Yeah.
And
Just wait for the spirochete
Yeah.
to eat that portion of my brain that thinks of such things. We're about to go around the country in a shiny box and perform music for people. You and I and Paolo Baldi and
Money Mark
on keys.
That
We're
guy-
actually musicians in a band.
Come check our band out because it's pretty awesome and it's relatively safe coming to see us. The pyrotechnics are pretty professionally done. I mean, accidents happen, but that's what rock and roll is all about, isn't it?
Yes. C.
C, is that like French for yes, or
Yes.
Spanish for
Close.
yes as well?
It was very close.
C.
We.
Well, let's end on an up note. Spanish is great. C, C, C.
That's the up note. All right. I like it.
Sean Lennon, Les Claypool.
Bye, everybody.
The Claypool Lennon Delirium. Thank you so much for being with us. America,
problem.
check these guys out. You're just doing the States, I saw right now, right? 3 months, it looks like.
Correct.
So far.
Are you going to be going to Europe or Asia or anywhere afterwards?
Who knows?
We're
We
going
may
to
conquer the world.
Phobos to find the monolith. The day the record comes out, did you hear this story? Is when Phobos is closest to the Earth.
Now, I know from my studying of Phobos that that's June 3rd.
Yes, exactly. We all know that. And it was very hard, let me say, making the record just in time to time it to align with the planets. So we did that.
You got the record label on board.
Yep, we sure did.
Well done. Guys, thanks so much for being here with us. Chris and Frankie, thank you so much for working sound. Everyone at Giant Step. And to everyone who came out, please hang out for coffee and donuts. And we'll be back next week with Wyclef Jean of the Fugees in conversation with Will Butler from the Arcade Fire. I'm Elliot Einhorn. Thanks for listening.
He's creeping through the night. He's creeping through the night to ease his lustful plight. He's creeping through the night. Oh, that good old fine upstanding Mr. Right.
How's that?
That was pretty damn good.